Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proof.
This is Dan.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is David Lapp.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick
I'm
Gillette.
Christopher
This is
Knopf.
Dr. Bob Greenberg.
I'm Laird Hamilton.
Hi, this is Sean Worthington with CloudCoin.global, and this is the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, Sean. So this is cool. One of the things that we love to do here at the Break It Down Show is gather perspectives. And life is a mosaic, so you're one of the tiles in our thing. And I'm into the crypto world. Kat Connor, one of the members of our audience, she's out in New Zealand. She's writing a crime novel called Crypto Byte. She's got like 11 different novels she's written, and they all have the byte number behind it, or byte name behind it. And so we were talking about crypto yesterday. So this is exciting because you're way out and far in front of a lot of people, and we're going to talk about your crypto thoughts and product in the very, very near future. But I wanted to point out a couple of interesting things. So we are both alums of Chico. I did not graduate from Chico, but I went there for a while. I also am an alum of...
I didn't graduate there from either. But I did go there for 4 years.
Yeah, well, I did 1 year, and I'm like, this does not suit me, so I left. But we followed that path around the same time. I mean, I was a couple years before that, but, whatever, very, very similar. I also have a master's degree from University of Phoenix, and my last major girlfriend of my life had a couple of degrees from Nova Southeastern. So I'm very familiar with all of those things, and I dig that you're here. Now you're an instructor of computer science at Butte, and those are very exciting things. But what we really want to talk to you about is CloudCoin Consortium, the CloudCoin concept. And so let's just do this. Let's put a little bit of work in talking about crypto and what we've learned about money, and kind of, look, we've got Wealth of Nations, right? Adam Smith wrote 300 plus years ago now, I guess it is. A long time ago, he wrote about money and the invisible hand and things balancing out. And we know so much more now about how things work and the power of bytes and information in terms of exchanging value for value. And I think the crypto world does that better than what simply just exchanging money can do. So talk a little bit about what we know about money, and then we'll go from there into the Bitcoin and all the other coins that are out there to talk about.
Yeah, I was 2 years ago, I was sitting in the bath thinking about what is money. Why is it that some people with Nobel Prizes in economics are saying that Bitcoin isn't money? Why are some people saying that gold is money and nothing else is money? Why is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, back then it was Bernanke, Bernanke said that gold was not money? And so what is the essence of money? What makes money money? I was studying it, and I looked at this island of Yap. And the island of Yap is an interesting island. It was one of the last islands in the Pacific that was discovered by Europeans. And when the European sailors got there, they were very surprised because when they went to the village center, there was this big, let's call it a bank. It was a bunch of raised platforms. And every family had one of these raised platforms. And they had these big stone coins, these big round stone money with a hole in the center. And every time there was a transaction, they would roll the money from one platform to another. And this created a monetary system. And I realized that this system that they had here is nothing more than a public ledger. It's a physical representation of a database. And instead of having, written on a hard drive, like a table with everybody's account numbers and how much money they have these physical platforms that represents the row in the table. And instead of having data in it, the stone coins are, represent numerical values. And they're able to stop people from making, double spending and doing bad transactions, because if somebody was to sneak out in the middle of the night and roll one of these big giant coins from one platform to another, everybody would see it, everybody would know it. And so I realized that this system is basically what Bitcoin is. And then I realized that monetary systems are in fact information systems, and they're databases, and they track how much value that we create for the economy, for civilization, and they're designed to make sure that we get the same value out, if not more. And without this kind of a system, our entire civilization would fall apart. In fact, we rely on it to make decisions. When we get up in the morning, we want to know what kind of work to do. Well, we make that decision based on money. If we're going to get paid 100,000 at one job, we'll do that instead of the job that pays only 20,000. And when we go to the store and we buy some eggs, if we've got 2 cartons of eggs that are identical, but one is 10 cents cheaper than the other, we'll buy the cheaper one. And so money helps us to make decisions that help us to economize. We all need to economize. And then, I actually teach database design, and I realized that money is in fact data, and that what we could do is we can take all the rules that we apply to databases, and we can simply apply them to monetary systems. And so I was, just asking the question, what is money? But it turned out that I actually started on the journey of creating my own currency, because we could start with the physical idea of what is perfect money. We could have a model. What is perfect money?
A model of perfect money. Let's talk a little bit. Actually, let's back up a little bit and let's talk a little bit more about distributed ledger. There's a lot of folks that see the flaws of the system because they don't know it. I got hip to Amazon really early on in the mid-90s, and I'm like, this is a different way. And as a guy that was gone a lot, being able to go to the internet to buy a book, that was a huge thing, and I could see the value in that. And then the company kept buying other companies and became a marketplace for things. And I got it and bought some stock really early on. But this seems like a similar thing where we can create efficiencies. We have an existing system where, let's just pick a big bank, Chase. Right now, Chase makes billions of dollars on processing the money. Like if there was someone in the middle of that system on the Isle of Yap taking one extra token out each time a token rolled from platform to platform, at some point you're going to say, what value are you bringing? Like we don't need you here. And this has been like the entrepreneurial disruption world, is how do you take an old system, going to a photomat or a PhotoFox kiosk and waiting 2 weeks to get one roll of film for $30 developed, or now who even develops film anymore except for professionals at the highest end. So this seems like the next thing is with crypto. We've got the ability to validate the transactions as they come through. It's computer based, so it's not. You can hack, I guess, a system potentially, and I'm just doing this for the audience's sake. You can hack, let's say it takes 7 computers to make a decision, and you can hack one of them, but you can't hack each individual computer. So the computers are going to make a common decision that allows for that transaction to happen. You're saying that in the Bitcoin world, there's a lot of energy and resource and time, which is a resource, to process a transaction, and you're saying that that's not necessary. So so let's use practical examples. When I am trying to understand, I'm hey, I'm curious, I'm excited, but I'm terrified. Like, let me ask you the simple question: is cryptocurrency, is Bitcoin going to disappear in the next 5 years? Will there be no cryptocurrencies at all?
I don't know if it's going to be 5 years, but I would say in the next 10 years, yes. Because I've invented something that is so much more efficient that it's going to blow it away.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of time before that technology gets dominated. That's why we're not using the Island of Yap money.
Right.
It's because it's inefficient. And that's the same reason why we're not going to see Bitcoin in the future, is because it too is inefficient. The only thing is it's the only thing that people know about, and it is better than the banking system.
Well, okay, yeah. So Bitcoin is better than the banking system. So let me ask you this: in say 30 years, in 10 years, will Chase Bank and their ilk be significantly different in how they run their operation? Will they be able to adapt in time? I mean, they have all the advantage because they have all the money and everything flows through them. But does the crypto world seems to be like it's going to change how business is done? What is someone like Chase or Bank of America or Citibank? What do those guys look like in 10, 15 years?
They're going to be gone. We're not going to need any parking lots. We're not going to need any ATMs. We're not going to need any tellers. We're not going to need any checking or savings accounts in those banks, because we're going to be able to do that all digitally. And if they don't switch over to digital services really quick, they're going to go the way of the buggy whip. They're just going to be completely outdated. There's some services that we're going to need in the future. We're still going to need people to take our savings and invest it wisely. And that's something that they might be able to get into. They might be able to get into making loans to people. I might be able to, give the bank some money. They make loans to people, and then I get some interest on that. There might be a lot of different things that they can do. But one of the things that the banks do right now is they're able to hack our current information system, which is the Federal Reserve notes. Basically, the federal government has made a deal with the banking system that the federal government will allow the banks to print up money. In exchange for that, the federal government gets to borrow all the money that it wants.
Yeah.
And this is, in fact, a hack. They're hacking you and me, and they're siphoning value from our society. And that's going to stop once we all switch to a currency in which they cannot control.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's one of the things I see is the efficiency, and it's not to topple giants. It's just an efficiency. I don't need to pay $2.50 to use an ATM that's outside of my network. Come on, you're not profiteering off of that. Come on, this is ridiculous. So, okay, we have the ability with crypto to sort of knock out a lot of the middlemen, and the middlemen build banks and insurance companies, that kind of thing. One of the things that seems like that's going to happen is the value of information will go up, or at least the ability to exchange that value is going to go up. Wikipedia's competitor called Everpedia is taking their encyclopedia, their wiki encyclopedia, onto the blockchain. They're actually going to do an airdrop of their token here in the next few days. Today actually is the last day to lock in EOS to get the airdrop. And what they're saying is we're going to incent people to exchange their knowledge into our wiki universe and give back, these coins, and also to ensure that the reliability is there. There's also the crypto end of it where you can't just write, Sean Worthington has blue hair. That won't work within the system that they're creating. So a lot of different things are happening. Let me get back to the real world. So Citibank and lending, as Citibank is trying to figure out how to make money, and their lending practices become more exclusive, fractional owning will be a thing. So it seems like we'll have what I would call peer-to-peer financing, where you say, I would like to buy this house. And you could, in effect, have people on the blockchain buy tokens to invest in your ability to buy a house, and you could exchange value that way, kind of, again, removing the onerous, we typically say, no, we want 10% of the money up front, all the other things. You wouldn't have to necessarily do that. Am I far off base with that?
No, you're absolutely right, because part of this revolution that we're starting to have is that not only can the blockchain, and of course we have with CloudCoin, we have a technology called RADA, which we think is much superior, but these technologies allow us to not only issue digital currencies, but to issue other digital assets, including stocks and bonds. And so this, we see that the great majority of the blockchain stuff out there now is actually stocks.
Yeah.
And they call them tokens, but they're not being used as money. They're actually being used as ownership. And we'll continue to see that. We'll see new organizations sprout up. So this is what are some of the things that I can see. Number one, like you said, having ownership in a house, or just some fractional ownership of something very small that we normally wouldn't associate with that. I could see you having ownership of a celebrity's career, in which a celebrity sells their own stock and has a board that manages them.
Sure.
I could see special rock groups, things like that. But I could also see marriages. I could see new types of relationships in which there's new kind of contracts in which you might not just have a man and a wife. You might have 100 men and 100 women in this relationship.
Right.
And so we might, see some very radical things, not to mention stock markets in which they're privately transacted without government knowing who's doing what and when, and bonds and everything else. And it's going to be global. And so it's going to allow people to do business with everybody else in the world. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, you're making a great point. It had never occurred to me, but it makes absolute sense. And I don't know what this looks like, so I'm just going to pull out my paintbrush and paint pretty big. But a marriage contract is a terrible business contract, and we only have so many ways to exchange value. So in terms of this conversation, let's just talk about dollars, right? Like I can take assets in terms of like hard assets, cars, a stock portfolio, a house, the vacation, like those are hard assets that we can all agree equal somewhere near $5 million in terms of a divorce, right? But you go on the other side where you have, like, say, the stay-at-home mom who's traded 25 years of productivity to raise the 4 kids. And how do you put a value on that? Like, there's not an easy way to say what that equals dollar and cents wise. And so what we're saying is in the crypto world, we can have more means of communicating value, whether it's location or knowledge or an actual, like a this is money you can use and trade, or the ability to say, the ability to create a transaction, to be Citibank in between two things. You can better define the value created rather than just saying give us $2 and we become part of the system. So it's like give me $5. It's the ability to define and exchange value is much more specific, I think. And this is me. I don't have the degree you do, but it feels like it's more specific and there's more options to more accurately define what's valuable.
And there's something, there's even a bigger issue, and that is that one of the reasons why we have government, or the justified government, is so that the government will enforce contracts. And the government has stopped enforcing marriage contracts 100%. They just gave up on it.
Right.
And so if they can't do their job, then maybe there's some other tool, such as cryptocurrencies or what we're doing, cloud-based currencies or cloud-based tokens that are going to step in and actually do that work.
I want to get into your your cloud-based cryptocurrency idea here in a second. I just want to do a little more background work just to kind of give the audience an idea of how we're going to play in this space. So in the crypto world, there are a lot of coins. Bitcoin is the obvious one. It's kind of the Kleenex of coins, where you just say Bitcoin and everybody knows what you're talking about. But there are coins that literally cover 100 different things. I mean, there's all kinds of coins I invest. I've got 25 different coins, Sean, in my portfolio. And that's not a means to brag. It's a means to say, I have no idea what's going to hit, so I'm going to get nice and wide. If I can buy 1,000 of those coins, I'm going to. If I can only afford 2 of those, I'm going to buy 2 of those. So I've kind of done an array where some of them are coins that provide a service. Some of them are coins that equate to a cash value. Others are EOS, and I'll be investing in the Everpedia coin system. So there's a lot of areas where the cryptocurrency, the blockchain idea is coming in. Pretty much any industry, anything. There's a Reddit that's on the blockchain. There's going to be, if there's not already, a Facebook that's going to be on the blockchain, and all these different things are going to move over to this side where you have this different idea on proof and work and sharing the different things. So let's get into your cloud idea. So
we could, if you like to, we could talk a little bit about the current state of the crypto. And the fact is that there was one invention. It was called the blockchain, and it was done by Satoshi Nakamoto, who we don't know, who he is. But that code was open source. Everybody could take it and copy it and paste it. And so a lot of folks that aren't computer scientists, but are in fact marketers, got a hold of that code. With a little bit of help from some programmers, they were able to change the name, market it, sell it for different things. And so we have seen a lot of coins. In fact, there's 1,500 of them out there. And if you go and look at all of their different APIs or how they talk to other things, you'll see that out of 700, 694 of them actually use the exact same API. They're the exact same thing.
What's an API?
So an API is an application programming interface, and it basically allows you to talk to something. And when something is exactly the same, you're going to use the exact same API, especially if you copy and paste it.
Okay.
And so these APIs, well, they're the same. There are a few currencies that are unique. For example, Ethereum is unique. Steemit is unique. BitShares is unique.
I own all
But-
three of those things.
Well, they are, they are unique. Whenever you have something unique, it tends to dominate if it's better.
Right.
Because if you wanted to take something and change it, if you change it wrong, for example, BitGold. I don't know if you heard of BitGold.
Sure.
But that's, I think that's just BitShares, and they tried to make some improvements to make it go fast. I'm not BitShares. So that's Bitcoin, and they copied it and tried to make some improvements, and actually they entered in some problems that may have made it more vulnerable. So they had some double spending issues. This has to do with the problem of what's called the problem is consensus.
Okay.
And consensus, you hear this all the time like it's a good thing, but the consensus is not truth. Just because you have 99 out of 100 people that believe something, that doesn't make something right or true. If you are able to take over or add a bunch of servers into a crypto economy, you can actually take over the money. And that's what happened with BitGold. That kind of stuff can happen by changing the code. They might actually change it worse, so it actually doesn't work.
I got you.
But we know that Bitcoin works. It's slow. It's not scalable. The more people that use it, the slower it gets. But it does fulfill its function. But it does have some major flaws. It is not quantum safe, and we've got quantum computers. They can hack it in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
We have the consensus issue, which is Chinese government can just put on 10,000 servers and take over if they wanted to.
Right.
And there's also, of course, the scalability issue. The more people that use it, it's just slow. It gets so slow. It takes 20 hours to do a transaction. That's unusable.
So
And the electricity use.
Oh yeah, the
The
electricity.
fact that it uses a huge amount of electricity in order to do this mining stuff, which is nonsense, in my opinion, because it's just guessing numbers. I mean, I understand why they're doing it, but it's based on a wrong thinking.
Okay, so let's not even worry about mining. We can get into that in another episode when you come back. But let's talk a little bit about. Okay, so you see these flaws with Bitcoin, and the API. The more crowded it gets, the harder it is. The consumption of electricity or whatever, some kind of power source to make it work. What did you come up with? Like, what was your answer to deal with that then? I mean, as Bitcoin grows, it is going to get bigger. Something has to change, right, how they do it, because it's been as high as $18,000 a coin. It's not there. It's at 7,000 something right now. But when it's at 18, it almost becomes you have to sell it off because it is hard to get your stuff out of there. If there's a panic and you're waiting 20 hours, the panic could be over, So what did you come up with?
Well, we started with a philosophy, and so a normative philosophy about what money should be.
Okay.
And what money should be is it should be data. Money is data, and there's basically two things that you want data to be. You want it to have physical integrity, and you want to have it logical integrity. And physical integrity means that, number one, nobody can just go turn off the computer. For example, we had something called eGold in California, and everybody took their gold and they put it in a vault and they issued digital certificates against it. And then a thief busted down the door, took the vault, stole everything.
Oh, man.
And that was, unfortunately, that was the state of California, so they couldn't do anything about it. And that was the thief.
Yeah.
And so that system was a great system. They did billions of dollars worth of trade, but it had no physical integrity.
Boy.
The government could just shut it down. The blockchain has solved that problem by creating a database in which is distributed over so many people that you can write transactions to it and you can read the transactions, but you cannot go and delete them or change them because everybody's going to know about it. You're not going to accept that. And so that they solved that problem. And so the counterfeitability, but the problem is they also have this mining, and mining, believe it or not, is a form of counterfeiting. If we have a information system in which its job is to track who's creating value and who's screwing up value, we want the system administrators to get paid, and that's basically what the miners are. They're administrators that are administering the computers, but we don't want them to just create freaking counterfeit money and add it to the system.
Yeah.
That's not what we want them to do. But another thing is loss. We don't want people to lose money either. And 6% of not 6%, 4 million, over 4 million of the Bitcoins that have been mined have actually been lost permanently. there's no getting them back.
Right.
And if you lose more Bitcoins than you make, you're not going to have a monetary system after a while. And so that's that's something you don't want. And then we get into logical things, and that has to do with who's the owner of it. We want to make sure everybody knows who the owner, or not everybody knows, but that the owner can prove that they're the owner when it comes time to make a transaction.
Yeah.
And we want no theft. We don't want to have any money stolen. We don't want any money taxed unless we want to take that money and actually give it to the government. We don't want to have anybody be able to just come and take it out of there. And there's to be scalable so that everybody in the whole world can use it at the same time. We want it to be available day, night, any second, and we want the transactions to happen in less time than we can think about it. So that by the time the transactions happened, we're not sitting there waiting because it's happened quicker than the waiting time. We want it to be 100% private.
Yeah.
And that means that we do not want to have to log in. We don't want to sign up. We don't want to have a password to use our money. And we don't want to have those transactions tracked in a public ledger where everybody can see them. The reason why we want privacy is because every time that we go to buy something, if the whole world knew about it, we would make different decisions.
Yeah.
And
True.
that would actually affect our economy by reducing our efficiency. I mean, imagine that I went to buy something at Walmart and my wife found out about it and said, "Hey, you've got to go to Rayleigh's or something. That's a good store."
Right.
She doesn't care about money.
Yeah. So this stuff is it's confusing and hard to find a way to explain it. So let's just slow down for a second again here too. So you found these flaws with the system, and you've built a less demanding, more efficient way of doing it. It's more secure, it's faster, it's just more nimble, it's more efficient. So apart from Bitcoin, what other coins are in jeopardy because you've built a better machine then? I mean, it's not all of them, because some of them work on like EOS coins, and those ones I'm assuming do something different. Like what is your coin going to replace that already exists right now? I mean, since there are like a zillion coins, like 1,500 something coins out there.
So our coin does everything better than every other coin.
I love it.
So, for example, if you were to say, "Hey, look, here's Monero. That's the privacy coin."
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to have an account? Do you have to log into it? Do you have to? Does it track the transactions that happen? No, we're more private than that. So we win in that category. Okay, what about speed? Not only are we faster than any kind of blockchain technology, but we're also faster than Visa or any other conventional type of monetary system.
That's fast. That's fast. So what is it? What's the hurdle then to, if I want to walk into, I don't know, Thrifty and buy some ice cream, or Rayleigh's? I want to go to Rayleigh's and I want to buy some vegan cheese. What am I going to do do I even go to a counter anymore? Or do I just grab the cheese and tap my phone to it and it's paid for or something?
Well, one of the things that makes CloudCoin so powerful is that we separate the data from the logic completely.
Okay.
Where if you want to get into blockchain, you have to download this thing called a wallet, but it's actually not a wallet, it's the blockchain.
Right.
And it's 165 gigabytes, and it encrypts and decrypts stuff, and you can run a full node and become a miner. So it's the logic and the data is completely tied together, and you have to have that decryption key in order to get at it. And so we have the files, or the money is in files. There's the data in the files, and we just have to check them when we transact to make sure that they are authentic. And
Okay.
so the authentic system is separate from the money.
Right.
And so if you were to go, so basically anything that you can think of, we can do.
Okay.
Because something like Ethereum or something like EOS, and by the way, EOS is not done yet. They just are raising money to actually make the system.
Yeah.
And so we plan to work with EOS. We plan to have CloudCoin actually be inside of EOS, and that's going to be something that no other currency is going to be able to do. We can actually put CloudCoins inside of EOS.
Wait. Okay. So hold on. That's interesting. So EOS is built off of like the Ethereum principles, basically. It's not
Ethereum on steroids, yeah.
Right. It's not like a progeny of Ethereum, but it's kind of is in terms of our conversation at the layman level. Ethereum begat EOS, and are you also gonna be inside of Ethereum then at some point too to improve how they do things?
Well, if you have the island of Yap and you got stone money
Mm-hmm.
and you're rolling around, you can think of Ethereum as being the island of Yap money, except you got robots that move stuff around and they'll do some things automatically.
Mm-hmm.
But and we could actually put cloud coins, which are data. We could write it on, USB drives. We could put it inside of that imaginary system.
So right now I'm on my Binance account and I want to buy a cloud coin. What token symbol do I put it, or is it not available on the exchanges yet?
So CloudCoin uses such a radically different technology that the exchanges have been slow to take us. But of course, we have announced with Stan Larimer that we are going to be on BitShares, and we got programmers working on that full time. And we have scheduled that it would be no less than 2 months, but hopefully just a couple of weeks, because it should be very easy to do. But we are not on exchanges, but you'd want to get on BitShares to get it.
Okay, and when you say get on BitShares, now I'm looking at BTS, the BitShare logo, the icon, the name. So I don't need to buy that. I need to go to the BitShare website where you can buy different kinds of coins.
If you wanted to buy CloudCoin, you just...
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
Type it, Google buy CloudCoin, you'd find some website that would take your American check, or you could use a PayPal, or you could use a credit card.
Yeah.
Or you could, there's people all over the world that are selling CloudCoins right now. You don't have to log in. You don't have to download a wallet to get it. You can get it fairly easy. So, but if you wanted to buy it on an exchange, well, that is just coming right now. And that's going to be on the BitShares exchange. And
by exchanging it on an exchange, is that defeating the purpose of like the private part of it then? And I'm asking because I really don't know, because I'm trying to understand that part of it. Like, do I not want to have it on an exchange if I can avoid it?
That's right. We're trying to build a peer-to-peer exchange right now, and we've made great strides in that. And that's because when you put it on an exchange that's run by the government or is regulated by a government, that government basically controls your ass.
Yeah.
And they can come in and they can see the IRS can come and demand that you fork over all of your records and who's getting what and everything. And so, once you join the domain, once you join an exchange, you're going to give up some of your privacy. And it is going to defeat a lot of the purpose. But the thing about that is that you can, it is a way for us to discover the price.
Right.
And so a problem that we have right now is that, man, you better shop around for CloudCoin because there's so many different people selling at different prices.
I got you.
But it does provide a convenient way for you as an investor to exchange different things and make your investments.
All right, so if we haven't covered this already, I want to make sure everybody has an understanding of what we're doing here. I'm talking to Sean Worthington. He has created something called the Cloud Coin. It's you can find out more about it on Twitter at CloudCoin Global, and you can also find out about it on their website, which is www.cloudcoin.global. cloudcoin.global. And you can find out all about the infrastructure and the future of money and all of these things from the brilliant mind of Sean Worthington. Now, you've written a book as well, right?
Yeah, I wrote a book called Beyond Bitcoin, The Future of Digital Currency. And in there I lay out the promise of digital currency and what money is and the problems with Bitcoin and some of the big philosophical issues to deal with when talking about digital currencies.
Let me ask you this. So when I was first getting, like, I was interested, and I'm like, I'm going to do something about this. And I'm not a man of means, so I have very small means. So I invest fractionally within my fractional amount of money. And so the guy that I know that I have a lot of respect for his knowledge of the crypto world said, diversify, buy what you can walk away from and never expect to get a return from, but just get wide and go that way. I know as a businessman, you want people to buy Cloudcoin, and I am going to buy some. But should we still continue to diversify, or what are your thoughts on how does someone? I mean, 'cause look, so many people like, I don't understand, I don't want to get tricked. There's people trying to, one of the problems with the blockchain is there's always someone knocking on the door of your vault trying to pull your money out. And like they can get it out easier than you sometimes if you don't make the right steps. That terrifies us folks on the we're not that smart at this whole crypto thing yet. So what's smart?
Keep in mind that I've been a college instructor for the past 18 years. I have never even invested in anything, so I don't know anything about investments. And when I started Cloudcoin, we didn't have an ICO because I didn't even know what an ICO was or heard about it.
Right.
And so I never looked at money as being an investment. I looked at money as being a way of buying and selling things, exchanging stuff. And the fact that so many people have made so much money on these currencies, well, it surprises me. At least it did in the past. Now I can see the value that's come out of it, and I see that it really is quite a big value. And just being able to buy things all over the world day or night without any bank fees or taxes or tariffs, it really does give us a great degree of freedom, and it allows us to keep our money, and we don't have to worry about government inflation. So the currencies are in fact very valuable. Some are more valuable than others.
Right.
And I think that I've created a model about how to look at them and how to judge them. And in my book, I actually have a little table that compares gold with Federal Reserve notes, with Bitcoin, and with Cloudcoin, the different ways that we might judge which money is better. I think that we're all doing experiments right now. This is all a bunch of experiments. And I was working on my dissertation in computer information systems, and I said, not instead of doing this, I'm just going to do an experiment with this Cloudcoin. I'm going to set up this thing. I'm going to make it work. I was thinking that I'd write a paper and turn it in. And I said, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And so Cloudcoin is an experiment. Bitcoin was an experiment. They're all based on the technologies of the past, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the thing's going to completely fail or not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we don't know, sooner or later, we're going to start bumping up against the governments.
Yeah.
Because the governments, they're not going to be able to control us anymore if they don't know what we're buying and selling.
Well, and not to be Mr. Conspiracy theory guy, but when you don't need them, you don't pay them for whatever portion of the transaction. I mean, we have custom houses because custom houses bring in a lot of money, and rightfully so, because the government needs money to do a lot of the things they do for us to keep us safe and provide for as best they can. So when all of a sudden there's, like, how do you get so when I used to work in Afghanistan, I was a spy, and I would go village to village. You got to know that part about this story first. When you live in a place that's largely lawless and tribal and feudal even, when you're the government tax collector, you don't go out. You don't have a need to do anything. Like these countries that just don't have a tax base. Countries that don't have a real tax base, because how do you defend it? Those countries struggle to do things like create sidewalks and legitimate police forces and all those kind of things. And in the crypto world, it seems like we're going to get past that a little bit, because Afghanistan could issue its own smart token that has value, and a portion of that smart contract could be in terms of paying taxes. But governments are going to have to be in the crypto business, which is going to help legitimize what you and the folks over at EOS or Ethereum are all doing, because this money is going to move through these pathways.
Absolutely. I mean, we already see some of the states like Florida talking about taking Bitcoin as payment. And the reason is because people prefer digital currencies over regular currencies. We're seeing the Federal Reserve, some of the Federal Reserve folks that have been involved with the Federal Reserve think that there should be a Fed coin. And that's because, believe it or not, the Federal Reserve note has got to compete with these cryptocurrencies now,
yeah.
And it's not going to be very competitive, let me tell you. I mean, it's got a long history and people trust it. But if we get something that starts to get a long history and people trust it, it's going to beat the hell out of the Fed note, and the Fed note is going to fade away. It's going to lose its power.
Let me ask you this: what about? So I've been reading Jim DeFelice's book about the Pony Express, and it's awesome. And it's not even out yet. He's going to be a guest on the show in 2 weeks. But one of the things I keep talking about in the book are the panics from the 1800s. And we've gotten sort of past the panic. We call them recessions now, but like the whole run on a bank kind of thing. What prevents that in the crypto world? Like if someone says, "Oh my God, there's going to be and it's all panic based. It's all stampede stampede behavior." But when someone says, "Oh my God, everybody's got to sell bit shares right now," what protects that currency from what really is a mirage, a panic? It's not a real problem.
Well, that's a very good question, and I think that liquidity is what protects it. And of course, what does that mean? That means that if people know that they can quickly change their money into something else, then they won't, believe it or not.
Right.
If I just know that any second I can get my money out of something and put it in something else, then I don't have to worry about it. And so, as long as is liquidity, then people will not have to worry about doing runs on banks or anything. Of course, I don't. Go ahead.
No, well, I was going to change gears, but go ahead and finish your thought.
I was going to say, and also, of course, diversifying. With one of the problems with Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies is that you generally have this one account and it's got this one public key and everything's there. And if that public key gets ripped off, you're going to lose all your money.
Yeah.
But with some of the CloudCoin, you can actually take it and put it in different places. So I could put it in your investment account, and some of it could be on my USB drive, and some of it could be my email account, and some of it could be over in some stock market somewhere. So we can really diversify it, and that ought to also reduce that type of problem.
Does your coin, do you see it also being like some of these process coins where gas, they call it gas audience, where to move coins down that ramp in the Isle of Yap from platform to platform, you need gravity in that case or some inertia. But there's a thing called gas in the crypto world, and those coins are used to create these transactions. Do you see your coin either blending into those options, or like NeoGas has a thing like that, or do you guys replace that? Or because again, the things I know, I've only learned since like January, so I'm just getting going. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of experiments going on, and some of the things that I thought were stupid a few years ago. Like I want there's some projects I thought weren't going anywhere, and they've actually done quite well. And of course, they might fail in a couple of years. Who knows? So really, it's lots of experimentation. And so if you're an investor, it's a great opportunity because there's so much opportunity for something just to skyrocket. But at the same rate, there's the opportunity for something just to fail. And it is really hard to tell what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Yeah.
Now I think that CloudCoin I've been asked, is CloudCoin Turing complete? And this is a term that we give to computer languages, actually. And so Ethereum attempted to be a computer language that you could actually type it commands and you can control it. I think that logic should not be with data, and Ethereum is doing the wrong thing, and it opens them up to hacking and money disappearing and all kinds of problems, and it shouldn't be that way. With CloudCoin, it's completely pure data, and that allows it to go into any computer language, any system. And so I just can't imagine that there's something that you cannot do with CloudCoin.
Right. And if there's already an existing coin, it sounds like CloudCoin can work in a symbiotic, not that they're bio things, but in a symbiotic like atmosphere, where like with EOS, where you're going to create efficiencies within the EOS model. Am I explaining that right?
Absolutely. I mean, you might really like some things that the EOS is doing. It's really cool. It's allowing you to accomplish some goal. But at some point, you might want to say, okay, I want some privacy, and I want 100% privacy. So you might just convert it. And there would be a way within EOS that you could do that by just employing CloudCoin. So I could see lots of different collaborations.
As I'm looking right now on www.cloudcoin.digital/buy, a place where you can buy cloud coins, the asking price right now is 5 cents per cloud coin. So, and it's really simple to buy it. I'm actually preparing to do it right now because I am going to become a cloud coin billionaire. But what does someone do when they're like, Pete, I heard you and Sean talk for almost an hour, and I haven't got the first fucking clue what you guys are talking about? How does someone go to a practical remedial school? Someone who's, most of our audience is not 18-year-olds. You know, there are some, and I love you guys. By the way, shout out to Charlie Cook and his wife who bought a Break It Down show shirt for him. I love you guys. What is someone like Charlie Cook who lives in Canada, who's listening right now and assembling cars for us? What does he do to go, you know what? It sounds crazy, but if Pete thinks it's an interesting idea, I'm going to put a couple bucks behind it. How do they learn more?
One thing that they can do is go to cloudservice.academy.
Okay.
And cloudservice.academy is a website in which you can buy some cloud coins, but there's a maximum amount, so you can't buy a whole bunch there. But what it does is when you spend $11.43, you can get the book Beyond Bitcoin, The Future of Digital Currency, which I think is very valuable. You're going to get the software that allows you to pwn, which is password on cloud coins. We haven't really talked about that process. You also get to see the Cloud Coin University videos, and you also get some cloud coins that you can play with. And so it's a very inexpensive way to get a whole bunch of knowledge. The whole point of the education kit is to keep it cheap so that everybody can get into it and look at it. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is if you go to digitalfrontiernews.com.
Mm-hmm.
Now, digitalfrontiersnews.com, they have a company that makes its money by buying and selling digital currency, and they've made quite a bit of money. And what they're going to want you to do is become an investor in them. But if you sign up for their newsletter, they will give you my book for free, as well as 5 free cloud coins. And so you can get my book and 5 free cloud coins. And the price you pay is now you're on their newsletter, and you're going to receive some good information on how to make money. Their job, I guess, is to make you money. That's what they do, and they make themselves money in the process. And so if you want to be an investor, and they give lectures every Thursday where they talk about it, and they're really good.
Okay, so sometimes people listen to this show while they work on their car or while they are doing the dishes or on a walk. So say that last, because that sounds incredible, to get the book for free, to get a little coin to play with. Tell us that whole thing again so we can understand and go do it. Because I'm telling you right now, it's the next thing I'm going to do once we hang up.
Okay, so that's digitalfrontiernews.com. It's a long name, and I'm trying to think if there's a link to it that we have, digitalfrontiernews.com. I don't think there is.
I'm going to Digital Frontier News right now. Okay, Digital Frontier News. That's the place, Digital Frontier News. Oh, and you can sign up for it. 5 free cloud coins. Okay.
That's right.
Let me just do this now. So, all right, I'm going to go right now to digitalfrontiernews.com. Okay, look, and there's the pop-up, DFN. Register below to get a free copy of Beyond Bitcoin and 5 free cloud coins. So, look, someone's going to give you, let's see, 5 cents is to go on. So 25 cents worth of free cloud coin. You could become a cloud coin billionaire like me. And also a free copy of the book and start your journey towards figuring this stuff out. And I'm telling you right now, because I'm not that far ahead of you guys in the audience, this is the future of money. Yes, there'll be dollars. Yes, there'll be Aussie dollars and Kiwi dollars. And all those other things are still going to exist for quite some time. But if you take a reasonable amount of money and start to look at these things, you might find that it makes a lot more sense as you get in. You don't got to know all of it. But there's a lot of potential here, and I'm excited. So I definitely am going to go to digitalfrontiernews.com and sign up. That is no lie. I will be doing that. And I want to make sure everybody can find Sean and be able to bug him with questions because he would love to be bugged by you guys. So I'm going to tell you his Twitter handle is at CloudCoin Global. If you can't remember that, I'm going to send you the information. I'm at Pete A. Turner. I want you guys to go on this CloudCoin and crypto experience journey with me because it's just neat. And then to look back 10 years from now and be like, remember when crypto was a thing? That's the worst that happens. Or you go, wow, I can't believe that guy Sean was on Pete's Break It Down show and he told us to buy some CloudCoin and I did, and now I've got all of these other benefits aside from the cash, just the efficiency, the safety, the security, all those things in there. Sean, what have we not covered that you want to get into?
Well, one interesting aspect is one question I had was, does a currency create a civilization, or does a civilization create currencies? Because we've been associating money with governments for long. And besides, gold and silver, which is actually, an international currency that was completely private. But these days, the governments are running the money. And so is it possible that maybe a currency could create a civilization? And so we do have the cloud people constitution, and that's at the back of my book. So that's another interesting thing.
Yeah, and then does cloud currency create the ability for civilized and stable behavior? Because money isn't tied up in singular entities. You have the ability to find other ways to translate value because your location, your intelligence, your time, all these things have value, but the most you can do is trade your time for cash. So now we're saying there's other ways to do this. So does that create less panic, less need and starvation for resources? And it's interesting to think about that.
One thing we didn't talk about is CloudCoin is actually the first currency that has a fixed supply. And so we made it, we're spending it into existence. And the only way that we can make more of it is to actually split it. So we can actually double everybody's money or triple everybody's money. But there's no mining it's not created that way. And so it's a totally different paradigm. It's going to be very interesting to see if a perfect money will create a much more perfect economy.
Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you this, and then we're going to let you go. You did this great service for everybody. Obviously, you're going to make some money yourself, but how do you make money with this then? If it's not mined and you have to do something to create more of it, how does one monetize this?
So we have hundreds of people in our consortium, and maybe some of your listeners would like to be in the consortium as well. And if you can add value to CloudCoin and make it worth more, then you can get paid Cloud Coins. And so we actually just pay it out, and I get paid as well. So I get paid for my work, and so do about 10 different programmers and 20 different system administrators and all these quality assurance people, and now some other people. So we, instead of doing an ICO, we're just spending it into existence.
Good. Well, you can spend some on me. Let's figure out how I can help you guys out.
And all right. Very good.
I love it. So he's Sean Worthington. He is fantastic, and he's helping change the world. And we're going to get Stan on, too, by the way. You mentioned Stan Larimer. It's all been about schedules. He's on a plane. I'm in traffic. But we're going to put together our minds and try to figure out how to help one another, because I want to be part of this this crypto world and use it to, look, do I want to make money? Of course, but what's the point of making money if people are miserable all around you? I want to try to help folks with it. So
absolutely. When you add value to people's lives, that you should be rich.
Right. And if I'm adding value, I should be receiving value back, not just in terms of smiles, but maybe some CloudCoin. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
At CloudCoin Global on Twitter, you guys got to do that. You have to. I'm telling you, get involved in the crypto world. You're going to thank yourself. And then also digitalfrontiernews.com. You can get a copy of the book and 5 free cloud coins, and you will join me when I do that, because I've already done it. And Sean, will you come on again and continue to guide us and teach us about what's going on, because it's fascinating?
Absolutely, I'd love to.